Good morning, everybody. If you here in Southern California, the skies look apocalyptic to go along with the apocalyptic technical morning for us. But anyway, glad to be on the air. Good to see everybody again online. Great chatting on there. Keep the questions coming. Thank you. I'm bringing in Marta Svetek. Marta, actually, I'm before I interview Marta, I was going to throw out there that with R23, if you didn't know, there's some amazing motion capture files inside of the content browser. Basic movements like running, moving, sitting, walking, super easy. There's a rig puppet that goes along with the movement. It's really easy to apply the movement. And the reason I'm bringing Marta on is Marta is the artist who brought the mocap to us. Marta is a actor, voiceover actor, and a mocap artist. She does some amazing work. I'm going to let you tell people about yourself, Marta.
No, I mean, you already did a pretty great job. Yeah, so I'm a professional performance and motion capture actor. I'm also a voice actor and just generally an actor. I also do a lot of stuff with swords and other weapons. So I kind of tend to do more action-related stuff, which just happens to be kind of the perfect storm of skills for video games. So I've kind of been in that area. I'm also the community manager for Red Giant. So we're all one big happy family because I wasn't busy enough. So that's me. I've been doing this for a little while now. And it was just so great to get to bring this particular set of skills into my work with Maxon and with this amazing team.
So actor, voiceover actor, mocap artist. How did you get to work with Red Giant and now Maxon?
That was an incredibly random story. Aaron Rabinowitz, who, my boss, who we know and love, he found me on Twitter, and I thought first that, thinking visual effects company, we might be working on a shoot or something like that. But we had a meeting, and I told him that I have business school education and had sort of told him about the business side of my skills. And a few weeks later, we were just like, yep, okay, let's work together. And that was almost 2 years ago now.
So who was it who came to you about creating the mocap for R23, and how were you talked into that?
Well, I didn't need a lot of talking into it, really. I was like, yes, oh my God, my body is ready. But it was Dimitris who had the great idea. He thought, oh my God, we have an in-house motion capture performer. Why don't we do something? And we first tried to do a few different things with my home setup, which is the Rococo Smart Suit. But we really wanted to bring the absolute top possible quality to Cinema 4D. So we actually went to this amazing, one of the best motion capture studios in the UK and Europe, Centroid 3D. They do, they do motion capture all the biggest movies, biggest games. They did mocap for Wonder Woman. They did mocap for Dunkirk, Borderlands, Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed, Hitman, Until Dawn. I mean, I could go on. But it was an amazing place to work at. And it was a bit of a homecoming for me because their volume was the first volume I ever did a professional job in.
Oh, awesome. Now, I understand they're at Pinewood Studios, the famous Pinewood Studios in the UK, yes?
Yeah, I mean, they literally just moved to a slightly bigger facility just outside of the studios. But yes, they are owned by Pinewood. And
so you did this during the quarantine, right?
Yeah.
How did that work?
It was weird. I am so used to being on a set where you have a buzz of people running around, at least multiple performers, and then you have the director, whoever is going to be directing you, and client reps and all that kind of stuff, a bigger team. And I walked into this huge mocap volume, and it was me and the studio manager and one additional technician, and that was it. And it was bizarre. But they really did an outstanding job of making it a COVID safe shoot because the entire studio is like, there's tape everywhere about where you're supposed to walk. Markering is particularly finicky. So there's certain markers, that put on myself and, making sure that social distancing was adhered to at all times. And then the coolest thing was for directing. It was Demetrius and Orestes, the guys on our team, they were directing me remotely from Greece. So they were on a Zoom call on a computer that was on this little podium next to, like, on the edge of this gigantic volume. And they were getting a live feed of the previs, of the real-time previs that you can have straight to them. And so they would, like, watch what it looked like and try to direct me shouting from the laptop. And we tried to see her like, what? But it was really, really cool. Yeah, it worked really fantastically well. And we smashed all those moves out in half a day.
Oh, I was about to say how long it took. So it only took about a half a day.
Yeah.
Did everybody have to be wearing masks while you're doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, because I was quite far away from everybody. Right. And as I believe we'll see in the footage a little bit later, it is a huge soundstage. So nobody came within any kind of like close distance to me without a mask. There was, hand sanitizer aplenty. But because I had to do the sprinting animations, all that kind of stuff, it does get more and more difficult with a mask. So, took the opportunity not to wear it. But whenever I was near anybody, absolutely.
That's a really interesting experience, I can imagine. Yeah, I think we do have some footage that we have of you, both of some of the capture and you doing the capture. And Dave, when you can bring that up anytime you want, if you want to throw that in the mix here while I'm talking to Marta.
Look at me, I'm jumping.
So when you're going through and playing around with this mocap data, you can always picture Marta running around and doing all these movements. It's very funny. I noticed in the walk that the actual capture character shows a bit more swish than you do in the actual live footage. There's a little bit of a more hip movement in the actual mocap character than you. I mean, you are playing it very neutral, which is interesting. But I see there's a lot more fluidity in the actual. Not to insult you, it's not about your movement, but I noticed that the actual mocap character, it's interesting how there's it's picking up much more fluidity than you see in the footage of you. It's interesting.
Well, it's you realize as a performer very quickly that the way the motion is recorded and finally ends up on the final character can be different from what we perceive in live action footage. Nevertheless, that is me, and that is because what's captured are those points, and then there's an assumed skeleton from those points. There are certain things that will then be exaggerated in the character itself. That said, it was a very unusual job for me because normally on a mocap shoot, I will be given a very specific character brief, and we'll work on how would this particular character walk or run or even pick up something. They will have idiosyncrasies that bring the character to life, and this was the exact opposite because the footage had to be somehow as untainted by a character as it were as much as possible, so it would apply to as many different projects as possible. So trying to actually that walk was me trying to not sway my hips, because I was also doing this to a male character. Right. Although I did insist on the tank top that you saw there.
I like the tank top. So it's interesting. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit a week or so ago about the share of movement classes that we did in school, and I do remember one of the things they taught us was the neutrality of the body so that you could add those character things. When you're adding character things, do you have to do them really subtly like you do on film? Acting can be so blown out of proportion on film if it's too big, or do you have to over exaggerate character movements sometimes for mocap?
I think it's kind of in the middle. Mocap is definitely more theater than it is film because you are being recorded in 360 at all times, full body 360 at all times. There's no close-ups, especially for games where the player controls the view. It's, you have to, everything has to sell, every angle, every performance. And because if you think of the amount of data points that are being captured, it's actually not that many. Sometimes you have to be a little bit bigger. depending on the view. So if it's going to be used in a, let's say, God view game, I'm using games just because they're a really good reference. But if it's a God view game where you're quite a small character, you're going to be bigger. Right. Whereas if it's, you're more classic cinematic, you might be a little bit more reserved. But I think it's a little bit different. It's definitely bigger than on film. But it's not as big as a massive stage, if that makes sense. It will. What one of my mentors told me is the mocap stage is the best BS detector ever. So if you're not really playing that movement as you would naturally and really going through it, it will pick it up. It will pick it up that you are playing at something. You're playing at being sad because I'm sad. Nobody does that anymore.
No. I was looking at a lot of your work on your website. You've got some great footage on there. I noticed that you get typecast a little bit as badass. Is that because of the stunt work? Is that because of your sword play or your stunt work that they kind of push you towards those characters that are more badass?
It's so cool. No, I tend to be a casting type for the strong woman because I'm also a little bit more muscular in build. I'm 5'8", and I used to be a swimmer, so I've got broader shoulders and can generally bring that physical authority that somebody in a military role or in that kind of more traditional tough chick role would bring. It's just down to that's a little bit easier for me to sell than, let's say, somebody who's much smaller and just more delicate than me. And it just so happens that I also have a massive interest in martial arts and weapons work, and it just kind of came together that way. And I love it. I love working on this kind of stuff. And to be honest, even today I booked another military role.
Nice. Hey, congratulations. That's
Thank
great.
You.
Yeah, speaking of weapons, I see some toys back there. I see maybe some swords hanging around back there.
One of my swords. I have many. And then it's my horse bow right next to it because I'm doing a little bit of mounted archery. I love my horses. If I open up my armory, you have about 7 swords, a couple of airsoft weapons because I need it for, auditions, weapon transition, that kind of stuff, all the stuff you see in video games. And a few suits of armor.
Oh, yes, I saw one of those last time sitting in the background. So horse archery, that caught my... So can you do a little Legolas? So you're going to be able to do the little Legolas move where you, as you're riding your horse, you're shooting your bow, jumping down, hanging under the horse, and getting people from the side. You're working on that kind of move?
I'm not going to be hanging under the horse because that's a great way to get kicked. But I'm working on it. I'm currently training my horse to put up with me shooting an arrow from it. He's not very happy about it. Not yet.
For those of you who don't know, Marta has a horse that she's been spending a lot of time with here during the COVID time.
Yeah. He is he's just everything. He's everything. I love him so much. Just you wait. I'm gonna have him in Lycra in no time.
Nice. What is your favorite mocap system? What's the system that you enjoy working in the most, or is there any favorite for mocap systems?
For me, I enjoy this the optical passive like Vicon and Motion Analysis, what they have at Centroid and at usually the bigger volumes the most, because if you're gonna do stunts and things, when you have inertial suits and you have the sensors within the suit, if you hit the ground, it can hurt a lot.
Right.
But just generally, it still places me in that headspace of work a little bit better than, let's say, with an inertial suit, you're usually in an office or whatever makeshift studio. I've had the pleasure of working with so many different systems, and it just is a little bit more immersive for me. And also because these systems tend to be a little bit more high end. The previs is more on point, and the projects tend to be a little bit bigger, a little bit more. I don't know. They're just more.
Nice. Have you ever done any underwater mocap?
Sadly, no. Sadly, I've not. But that is an ambition. Yes, I saw that. I have a few friends working on Avatar in different capacities. And it's just insane what they've been able to achieve. It really is.
Somebody was asking if you have any lightsabers. I think that's a foregone conclusion.
Yes, I have 3. And I'm sponsored by Solari Lightsabers. Go check them out. That is the best lightsaber that I've had the pleasure of working with.
By the way, I can send my endorsement as well. I was blessed. Aaron Rabinowitz, who everybody knows from Red Giant, gifted me a Solari lightsaber when we merged together, and he and I were sharing the marketing duties. Was a beautiful gift and such an amazing lightsaber. It completely overshadows what the whole thing you do at Disney. I mean, the Solari is like nothing you've ever seen. It's amazing.
What I love about it, well, before I finish this massive endorsement, what I love about it is the fact that I have put it through its paces in a few sparring sessions with some of my colleagues. And it has yet to crack, and we really went for it. So it is a sturdy piece of design, really.
Yeah, and it's I love the Bluetooth enabling. You can change the color on the fly. It's pretty amazing. It's actually an amazing piece. Tell us a little bit about some of the mocap, or some of the projects you've worked on, and some of your favorite mocap projects or films that you've done, or games, or those types of things.
Well, one of my favorites was getting to voice a lead character, Aranessa Saltspite, in Total War Warhammer 2. Being a massive nerd and loving my turn-based RPGs, that was really cool. It was my first lead in a game. It was very cool. And she is a pirate queen that leads a crew of the undead. Nice. So that's great. And
that's badass.
Yeah. And the second, my second favorite one was that actually happened a few weeks ago. I had the pleasure of being driven out to Paris to do this incredibly exciting, awesome game project that I sadly can't say any more on.
What?
And sadly, it'll take, as it does with games, it takes years for them to come out from the point you do mocap for it. But it is something that is incredibly exciting, and it's something else. It really is.
You have a project coming out, and you said you might have a project coming out in November. Well, we were waiting for our technical issues to get solved. You were talking about a project that you filmed 2 years ago that's not coming out until November.
No, I think November was a different project.
No, I know, not that one. That's what I say. It was a different project. Is that one you can talk about that's coming out in November?
No, normally I can't talk about it until it's out. I do also have a very cool little cameo in Avenue 5 with Hugh Laurie, and episode 3 of season 1, Avenue 5. You can see me right there, front and center. Bridge crew. That was great. I got to spend about a week on set with Hugh Laurie. Red shirt bridge crew, like expendable bridge crew. Not expendable. No,
nice,
no.
Nice. So there's hope. There's hope.
No, but the amount you learn from being on set with somebody that's done as much as Hugh Laurie has is immense. Yeah. And working with Armando Iannucci and all that, special.
Very cool. But I don't want to leave before you do have a panel coming up next week.
I do. I'm going to be talking about performance capture in particular with an incredible group of people at PAX Online. So PAX is a massive gaming conference that usually happens in various parts of the world. You got PAX East, PAX West, PAX Southeast, PAX whatever bit of the compass. Yeah, no, it's great.
Don't worry, we're putting the URL in the chat so that people can find it.
Well, this one's easy because it's just going to be on Twitch.
Nice.
But it's fantastic. We're going to be talking about performance capture, and I managed to pull together some of the best directors I've ever worked with. It's going to be Tom Keegan, who's worked on the Wolfenstein series, Battlefield, Dead Rising, all these amazing games. Then we got Bobby Coddington, who's head of animation at Insomniac Games, who are doing the Spider-Man games, the recent ones. Then we've got Mark Morisseau, who is working for, who's currently working as a motion editor on Avatar. We've got Nashir Dalal, who is an amazing actor, and one of his amazing roles of being a lead in Red Dead Redemption 2. And we got Vijana Rach, who's been the body of so many famous video game characters, including the Bruxa in the Witcher 3 trailer.
Nice.
So we have some pretty amazing people on this.
Very cool.
Don't miss it. It's 3 p.m. next Friday.
3 p.m. next
Pacific.
Friday. The URL will be in the chat for anybody who wants to attend that. Some people are asking, what is your favorite style of sword technique? What do you practice? Do you have multiple sword techniques, or? Well,
personally, my favorite weapon system, sword-related weapon system, is sword and shield. So be more like short sword and shield, a little bit more towards the Viking style, but I do like the gladiatorial style as well. It's a little bit flashier.
Nice.
But sword and shield is definitely my thing, largely because I'm really hardcore right-handed. So having the shield in my left hand is much easier for me because I don't have to be as dexterous. Other than that, then various broadsword techniques are very cool, but I don't have one particular favorite style. I do veer towards the Italian sword masters a little bit more than the German ones, but there you go.
Most importantly, Jedi or Sith?
I don't know. I'm a fence sitter. I don't know. I could go either way.
You'll go wherever they pay you, I bet.
Not pay me. I think whatever.
Well, for a job, I'm saying, for a mocap job.
Oh yeah, for a job, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If they want you to play Sith or Jedi, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the fate of humanity, we're like, whatever mood I wake up in, it's fine.
Exactly. We had one question. Are you a Jeeves and Wooster fan?
I am not. I don't know what that
God,
is.
me neither. Me neither. We're going to have to figure that one out. By the way, you can ask Marta any questions after this on her Twitter account, I assume?
Yeah.
Martolio?
Yes, at Martolio. If you know your Beavis and Butthead reference, that should not be a difficult thing to remember.
We absolutely know what that means. Yes, we do. We're actually, we used all our time, even though we're running late. So I'm sure we're going to have to catch up here. But I could talk about this for hours. We're probably going to have you come back. Yeah, we're probably going to have to have you come back at some other time and
you got me anytime.
Again. Awesome. Well, we do, because you're now part of the whole Maxon family and the Maxon community. They may come at you. Great community. Yes. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Thank you so much for the amazing mocap. I think people are going to have a blast with it. And how much fun is it going to be to see what people do with all your moves? That's going to be great. So much fun.
Please tag me. I'd love to see it.
Absolutely. That would be great. Everybody put that out there. Tag that so Marta can see what you're doing. I think we're going to take off now and come back with our first presentation, or our first actual formal presentation by
Simon Russell.
Hey, Matthias.
We're going to actually dive right into Simon, just so we can get back a little bit on track, folks. Yeah, so we're going to go. Marta, thank you so much. Can't wait to mocap you. I just can't wait to grab all your mocaps and start playing with it. I have not done character stuff in a while, so it's going to be a little bit rusty. So I'm not going to tag you right away. But as soon as I do something decent, I'll let you know.
No judgment.
So we'll be so guys, stay tuned, because we're going right to Simon Russell.